That would be Joe Rogan and the Kelsey brothers.
So, talk to me. You're a little guy.
Yeah, well, I'm a big boy. Oh, hell yeah. Honestly, I think a pterodactyl freaking rips.
We do comedy here, but we also have the privilege to meet and speak to some very interesting people from right here in Kansas City. Tonight is no different. We have a couple guests. Our first one is coming up right now. Please put your hands together. He's a motivational speaker for children. It's Gus Thompkins. Wow!
Got a couple Gus heads out there. Hi, guys.
I love it. So talk to me, Gus. How long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been doing this since I'm 10. I'm now 14, and I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Wow, that's great. So tell me, where are you normally speaking to other children?
Normally I speak to kids at elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, and some Ivy League colleges.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What is your core message that you're teaching them?
My core message is basically, if you don't do something now, the world will end.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, so basically, we're at a point where every part of our society is going fucking nuts.
Okay.
So, I go in there, I give them a little bit of what for, I tell them about the future, I tell them about self-responsibility.
Yeah. Just to jump off what you've got there, it says here that you have a podcast.
I do.
What's that called?
It's called the Big Boys Podcast.
What do you talk about on that?
Well, we started out as an MMA podcast, but we've opened up to a little bit of philosophy, economics, and just a whole bunch of whatever the fuck, basically.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
You got a lot of listeners?
Yeah, we're the third biggest podcast in the world right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Remind me who the other two are?
That would be Joe Rogan and the Kelsey brothers.
Makes a lot of sense. So, talk to me. You're a little guy.
Yeah, well, I'm a big boy.
That's my fault.
That's okay.
Sorry about that. What does that mean? You know, what is the message that you would just tell any of the kids that you haven't spoken to?
Well, first off, girls and boys can both be big boys.
Oh.
That's one thing people gotta know. Being a big boy isn't about how you're born. It isn't about, the things you can't control. Being a big boy is a mentality and a way of life.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Gus, I'd love to open it up to the audience for questions.
Yeah, sure.
Are you okay with that?
Of
Does anybody have any questions for a children's motivational speaker?
How do I become a big boy?
There we go.
Well, it depends. I think first off, you gotta look at yourself and be like, what are the things I'm doing right now that are little boy? Little boys don't take accountability for their actions. Little boys aren't very nice and expect things in return. Little boys overcompensate for certain things. So I would say avoid those things and you'll be on the right track to being a big boy.
That's great. Does anybody else have a question? I think we got time for one more.
What's your favorite dinosaur?
Oh,
hell yeah. Honestly, I think that a pterodactyl freaking rips.
Now, Gus, can we find you anywhere on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me on the Big Boys Podcast. Big Boys on Instagram, Big Boys on Threads, Big Boys on Twitter, Big Boys on LinkedIn, actually. We're trying to get that popped off.
Wow, wonderful. Give it up for Gus, everybody.